Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to talk about my wines. My name's Bruce Neyers. I am the owner and operator with my wife Barbara of a winery in the Napa Valley named Neyers Vineyards. And the two of us are here in Washington, D.C. for a tasting at MacArthur Liquors. And we're traveling around the country the rest of next week talking to people about our wines. So the opportunity to talk about them electronically is very attractive to us. We're a small winery. We make about 15,000 cases of wine a year. It's owned entirely by my wife Barbara and I. Barbara's background is as a chef. She worked for many years at Shape It East Restaurant in Berkeley. And my background is as a chemist. We're both University of Delaware graduates, and we moved to California in 1971. I got involved in the wine business and Barbara got involved in the food business, and now that we run our own winery, we operate it together as partners. The wines that we tasted today are 4 of the 12 that we make as a regular practice annually. The most important wines to us, though, are the 2 that I've selected from the tasting today. The Carneros District Chardonnay, we're pouring the 2012 vintage of that wine. The Carneros District Chardonnay is something that we've been making ever since we started the business in the early 90s. The practices, though, have been honed and we'd like to think developed and sharpened over the years to the point that the wine is now one of the most popular, if not the most popular, that we produce. And it's a striking example of, I think, the success that California Chardonnay can reach. We were fortunate a few years ago when we started the business to hire Helen Turley as our consulting winemaker. And Helen had some great ideas about winemaking, specifically as it applied to Chardonnay. And over the intervening years, we've had Aaron Jordan work with us for a number of years, and our current winemaker, Tadeo Borchardt, has been with us for 12 years. And all 3 of them share in common the attitude, the approach towards Chardonnay that is so important to us. We want a wine that is complex but not over-oaked. We want a wine that is mineral but is not highly alcoholic. And we want a wine that is fresh and crisp and provides an opportunity to enjoy wine as we do with food. I think that term is probably a bit overused these days, but I don't think it can never be emphasized enough that we make wine at Neyers because we expect to not win tastings with it, but to have it complement a meal. The Carneros District Chardonnay is, I think, ideal for that, and it goes well with a wide range of foods. One of the tasters that was by earlier today had a glass of it and looked at me and said, this wine goes down really well. Well, I think that's the highest form of flattery you can pay any wine. If the wine doesn't go down well, why bother drinking it? So I was particularly pleased with that observation. I think I'll probably borrow it more than just as I did for this meeting today. The second wine that I have with me is the Cabernet Sauvignon from Neyers Vineyards, and we identify that as Conn Valley Neyers Ranch Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a vineyard that Barbara and I oversaw the planning of on the property that we bought in Conn Valley in 1984. We searched for about 3 years for this particular piece of land. We had in our mind's eye an idea of a piece of vineyard property that would be well suited for Cabernet Sauvignon. And in the Napa Valley, oddly enough, that's not the easiest thing in the world to ask of a piece of real estate. Some that's very good for Cabernet Sauvignon tends to have portions of it that, because of either clay, too much water, or soil that is too rocky or too forested, isn't particularly good for Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to find land that is. We searched for about 3 years and found what we like to think is a nearly ideal Cabernet Sauvignon property in Conn Valley. It's a 50-acre ranch. We've planted 20 acres of it, and of the 20 acres that we planted, 10 of them are Cabernet Sauvignon and 10 are planted to Merlot. The Cabernet Sauvignon is planted in a Bordeaux fashion. The vineyard is terraced east and west across the south-facing slope. And the reason behind that is to have the arc of the sun face the south side of the grapevines during a normal 10 or 12 hour day. The sun rises and looks at the south face of the east part of the vines, and of course sets in the west, looking at the west face of the vines, but again on the south face of the vineyard. It's a nearly ideal way to grow Cabernet Sauvignon, we think, and we planted the Cabernet Sauvignon vineyards in 1992. So the vines are now, with this 2010 vintage that we tasted today, the vines are now approaching 20 years of age, which is what many people think of as the sweet spot or the ideal age for a Cabernet Sauvignon vineyard. All of the wines that we make at Neyers are made naturally. And by naturally, I mean we use only natural winemaking practices. We don't add any yeast or yeast products or yeast food to the wines. All of our wines are fermented using the indigenous wild yeasts that are trapped on the bloom of the grape skins when the grapes are harvested. We do add sulfur dioxide, but tiny amounts of it, and only at the end of the winemaking process when we're about to bottle. We've never filtered a red wine. We rarely filter our white wines other than the Carneros district Chardonnay. And using the winemaking practices that we do, we find we're able to get a little bit more flavor out of the grapes than perhaps some of the other wineries that are making similar varieties. I urge you to try a bottle of Neyers Chardonnay or Cabernet, or any one of the wines that we make for that matter. We've built in a very short time a really good, we think, solid tradition of winemaking, traditional practices, and very careful, attentive winemaking that has made us successful to the extent that we've been able to enjoy that success. Hope you enjoy the wines as much as we do, and it was nice to have a chance to talk to you today.